Today, to continue the open government conversations that got started yesterday, we are going to have a few lightning speakers for you. And lightning speakers means they have 5 minutes to talk to you about their OpenGov idea. So these brave souls are going to be coming up. First up, we have Edgar Rios, who is Project Officer for Open Puerto Rico. Edgar?
Well, good morning all. As Alicia said, my name is Edgar Rios. I represent Open Puerto Rico. We're a nonprofit organization that's been established, well, maybe 3 months in Puerto Rico. So before all this spiel, I did want to mention I'm a newbie here, so I kind of came up with an idea of what to actually talk about, but given the dynamics that I saw yesterday, well, I think I'll be preaching to the choir. Nonetheless, so we're a nonprofit organization that was launched maybe 3 months ago. Basically, we have 3 prongs, which is we acquire and compile data, and we make it consumable, making it available through our webpage, and also creating visualizations to make it easier for people to understand. Our 3rd prong, which is the most important one, is having actually community outreach. What value is there in all the work that we do if the community does not adopt the information, nor do they understand it? So basically, we will be going out into communities, stressing the value of having open data and open government, as well as being able to use this data for the benefit of the communities and themselves. And ultimately, we want them to become empowered with this information. So we launched literally on March 5th, 2014. Afterwards, we received a lot of support from individuals, governmental agencies, and from nonprofit organizations, and that has flourished into many collaborations. So at this point, we're literally just going to strengthen our webpage right now because we received support to receive 5 interns this summer, which hopefully we'll be getting a lot more data on our catalog. And also, we will be starting with our community impact plan this summer. Obviously, we're confronting all the growing pains that a small nonprofit would confront, but nonetheless, I think what I want to stress during this mini presentation is that the support that has been expressed to the team is pretty much the value that the community sees in open and transparent government. And I think that value is generalizable across different contexts. That said, when any one of you are frustrated or wavering when you can't get a specific piece of information you've requested, or if you have to reformat 2,500 PDFs, remember that the value that the community has in what we're doing. And also, I wanted to thank Sunlight Foundation for the support that they've given us and for getting us together here today, because I've also made connections here that I know will be beneficial for our organization as well as many others. So that's pretty much it. Hope you enjoy the rest of the day and have a good one.
We have Ted Henderson, who is the founder of Capital Bells. Ted?
Morning, everyone. How's it going? Woo. Having fun? Yeah. Oh, how do we get to the trend? Sorry, trying to find the presentation. Yeah, there we go. All right. So yeah, good morning everyone. I'm Ted Henderson. I'm the founder of Capital Bells. I used to be a congressional staffer until my boss, Gail Kildee, retired at the end of last term, and I started building Capital Bells, which is a mobile app to track what Congress is doing in real time, and also to be able to share our opinions with our friends and rally support for or against legislation. And I wanted to come talk to you guys for a couple minutes about how legislative data and transparency can actually be used to make powerful, cool apps, which I might be a little biased about. So my theory is that apps and all this data can actually be used to help Congress do its job. Some of this data is completely open, transparent. Some of this data is technically public, but really hard to get at. So like the first data that I use in my app were the data from the clocks on Capitol Hill, which buzz in different weird patterns to let people know what's happening. Is there a vote that's starting? Is there a quorum call? Are we going into recess? And it turned out that there wasn't an API for these vote alerts. There wasn't an RSS feed, but all the clocks are actually radio-controlled clocks. So we pick up the radio signals that control the clocks, so we can turn it into English and send it up to the cloud and give you push notifications. So instead of having to be there on the hill to hear the buzzes and try to figure out what they mean, you just get a push notification that says the votes are starting. And you can open up the app. You can find out what the bill is, which is from open data we get from the clerk's office, their XML feed, so we can tell you which bill that we're on, and tweets that follow the floor to tell what's going on, minute by minute. And then the other sort of supposed to be public information, but it's really not open, are, if any of you watched C-SPAN before, you see how there are the yays and nays, and you see how the vote's going. So I kind of get that on the app, but I actually have to take screenshots of C-SPAN, use something called optical character recognition, and be able to kind of guess what are these blobs in low resolution. Is it a 82? Is it a 1? And then be able to kind of show a member of Congress, here's how the vote's going, so I can kind of tell, how much time do I have to get down there, or is this bill going to pass or not? But the result is kind of bringing all these disparate data streams together to have an app that's been very popular on Capitol Hill. There's over 15,000 mobile users. Hundreds of them are members of Congress. Thousands of them are staffers. The press gallery uses it, and lobbyists use it. And in addition to a lot of political junkies like probably a lot of you are. The other side to it, of course, that transparency means that it's a chance for, it's a chance for us to keep track of what's going on in Congress, but also to be able to engage our friends and maybe hold Congress accountable or representatives accountable for what they're doing ostensibly for us. So the Capitol Bells web app, which I launched last month, is sort of a social network for Congress. Lets you pretty much share your position on bills and just describe it in your own language why you're in support of it, why you're opposed to it. And it translates all our interactions into sort of yay and nay positions that we can compare to a congressman's official record of co-sponsorships and votes. So since launching it last month, we've connected over 20,000 people to open data on the Sunlight Foundation's Congress API, and hopefully can continue connecting more people. Basically, my theory is that if we can get more data, we can create more powerful apps doing more useful things. So really, I would like to open up as much as possible of what's going on in our legislature, right now in real time. Is everyone here from Granicus? You stand up. So, like Granicus, they have this House Live video feed, which lets you kind of monitor the House floor. You can have if you have a video open, but they also get this. They have a special deal to get this awesome data that has all those live tallies that I have to OCR. So they don't open that up, but we obviously get it. And if they did, there's really cool stuff we could do with these. So you guys should ask them to open up. Closed captioning we can use to tell not just that there's a debate going on, but who's speaking and what they're speaking about in a digital form. Amendment data. Oftentimes we don't actually have the real amendment data until after the amendment's already been voted on, especially in an open rule. We don't see it until after they've already decided on it. And then committees, you really have to be in a committee to find out what's going on. It's like, what if we could get all of this data? We could actually sort of have sort of this virtual digital representation of Congress that we can check into at any time, and we can interact with, and we can interact with our community about, and maybe do some constructive stuff. That's it. Email me if you have any questions, and thank you very much.
Paul Lenz, Head of Finance and International Projects for Mass Society, joined by, they're doing this together in 5 minutes, Felipe Heusler, Founder and Co-Director of Stephen Donald and Helen Begley.
You have enough slides? Okay, hello, good morning. Thank you, Sunlight, again for hosting this great camp. Again, it's been several years. I actually was here 4 years ago, and it's really, the community here has changed. My name is Felipe Joycer. I'm the director of Ciudad Inteligente, which is a civic tech NGO that is focused in Latin America, but we're based in Santiago, Chile.
And I'm Paul Lenz. I'm from My Society in the UK. We live in different continents and we work for different organisations. But because we have the same kind of challenges when it comes to civic technologies, we're here together to represent the same thing. And that thing is Populous.
Yeah, Populous is a civic technology, it's a civic hacking activist group that was born just a couple of weeks ago in a conference in Santiago, Chile. We have people from about 28 countries coming to this conference, founding this new community. We are a diverse kind of community. We built different kinds of technology, from spotting corruption to channeling citizen participation, trying to empower citizens in different kinds of ways. We're also a diverse group of people. We have civic hackers, we have journalists, and people that come from the policy side. They're interested in freedom of information, in participation, and good governance. But though we are a diverse group of people and we share civic values, that is not the only thing that we have in common as a group.
What we have in common is that we hate waste and we love civic activism. If you wanted to set up a blog, you wouldn't try and code a new version of WordPress from scratch. Yet with civic technologies like FOIA websites or street vote reporting or monitoring elections, we so often see groups around the world facing the same technical problems, attempting to create their own technical solutions. Now, if we had the budgets of Silicon Valley startups, that might not be a problem, but we don't. Our budgets are tight, and this kind of duplication of effort makes it harder for us to achieve our main goals. Instead of trying to change the world, we end up trying to fix bugs that other people have already found the solutions to in Malaysia or South Africa or Australia. We also make the same mistakes in outreach and engagement and citizen engagement that others have already faced and overcome.
So I think Paul's right. We hate wasting time on the very few resources that sometimes of civil society we have. We hate duplicating efforts, and it's not that we have like a strong, solid, and proved solution for it. What we have is the persuasive and also strong feeling that the answer to face the civic technology problems that we have across the world has to do with sharing. It has to do with more sharing, but also has to do with better kind of sharing. So the problem that many of us at the civic technology space have is that sharing so far has meant going open source, sharing the code, saying, yeah, that's my GitHub repo, just take a look at the stuff we are doing. And I think we can be much more proactive than that so far.
So the first thing we need to do a better job of is sharing stories. We're going to share them online and we're going to share them offline at fantastic events like this. What kind of stories? Some of the stories that you maybe heard yesterday. Stories like how you can get 10,000 people to contribute to a transparency project in Taiwan. How you can get a FOIA law changed in Uruguay. Our members are going to be around the world at events encouraging people to share, particularly in places where the civic hacking community is relatively new and relatively isolated.
So as important as sharing stories is, we're also going to share technology. And what we have come up as a community at Populous is the idea about the Populous components. These are single function, ultra reusable pieces of code that solve a very, very specific but also common kind of problem. So each component is not a full website, it is a section, it is a very specific function within the website, but that component may serve other websites as well. Now, so far as a community, we have built a couple of components to prove kind of this hypothesis. We have some components out there. These are a couple of them. For example, you have Puppet. There is a component that structures and provides data about people, like politicians. You have Billet that organizes, structures. It's a REST API that provides data about bills, documents, laws, and so forth. And Say It that structures and serves data about debates, conversations, and so forth. Now these components that exist, single function, have been implemented not just in theory, but actually in real life. This is a website that we're launching in Chile next week that does parliament monitoring, right? It has the typical stuff. It has information about the members of Congress, it has bills, voting records, and so forth. But the big difference, it's a more powerful kind of website. And it's also much cheaper. It costs us 6 times less than our previous effort. And that is because it's using Populous. It's using the components and the pieces of code built by the different members of the community. So for example, we're using Puppet to organize the data about the members of Congress. We're using Billet to organize and structure data regarding documents. In this case, bills and the laws are being discussing in Congress. We also write it. It stores and serves data about email exchange and iteration between citizens and members of Congress. Now these components, again, that website is using components built by the community in different corners of the world. And this is happening in different parts as well. We have the same components, the same RACE APIs, serving transparency websites in different corners, in places like Morocco, like Canada, like in Chile, like in the UK, like in Nigeria. And this community is growing, and we really want you to be part of it.
So there's so much more we could say than I was going to say in 5 minutes. Unfortunately, we've overrun slightly. Sorry, 6 minutes. But I want to end on just one note, and that is Populous needs you. We need you to share. What that means in practice is that we want people to become members. There's no entrance fee, there's no commitment, or you don't have to agree to anything other than it's a good idea to share. We're a cooperative, we're led by our members, and the paths that we're going to take in the coming months and years will be defined by those people who come along and sign up. Please come and find us over the course of the next couple of days. There are Populous people in the room. Do you want to stand up, wave your hands, And on that note, thank you for taking up doing the speak. Thank you all very much. And there's sweets. We have candy and stickers for anyone who likes candy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you to Paul and Felipe. And speaking of sweets and candies, we don't have those, but we do have a few handouts while we get our next lightning speaker, Rachel Hatch, who is actually going to be coming to us from Redding, California. And that's a 3-hour time.
My name is Dave Moss. I work at the Electronic Frontier Foundation, and I just led a panel called Transparency Grumblefest, where a lot of us open government advocates complained about government responses to our public records requests. And to make us all feel better at the end, we put together a list of all of the freedom of information haters that we've had to deal with, including the Boston Police, the city of Minneapolis, we have universities in Indonesia, we have the Australian Department of Immigration. I feel a little bit better, but I think it'll be only last as long as my next FOIA request.